In this video, we are going to be talking about solving systems of inequalities real-world style. So these are going to be word problems where we have to create inequalities, graph them, and interpret the solution. So write a system of inequalities to model the problem. So the problem is a psychologist needs at least 40 subjects, adults and children, for her experiment. She cannot use more than 30 children. So first thing we have to do is identify variables. So I'm going to say here it has on our x-axis that x is children, and y on our y-axis is number of adults. So when I go to create my equations now, I want to make sure that I'm representing x and y appropriately in the context of the problem. So a psychologist needs at least 40 subjects of adults and children. So this 40 subjects is made up of adults and children together. So adults and children, so x plus y, she needs at least 40 subjects. So 40 is the least amount or the smallest number that she can have. So when I put 40 here, I have to decide what the inequality we need to use is. If we use a less than sign, then that means that this is going to be less than 40. Well, we want adults and children, or the number of participants, to be more than or equal to 40. Because 40 should be the smallest number that she has. And then it says she cannot use more than 30 children. Well, 30 or children is represented by x. She can't use more than 30. So if we were to use a greater than sign here, that would mean that x, or the amount of children used, is greater than 30, which we know it can't be greater than 30. So we have to use less than or equal to 30. So now, if we look at its graph, x plus y is greater than or equal to 40. We've got to get that in y box mx plus b form, so we subtract x, and we get y is greater than or equal to negative x plus 40. Well, this means that this is a solid line. Greater than means we're shading above. Y-intercept is 40, and then the slope is negative 1, so we just go down 1 over 1. Solid line. And if we're shading above this line, then we're going to shade everything on top. When we see x is less than 30, that is going to be a vertical line because of Fuchs. It's going to be solid, and we're going to be shading below. And remember, in last video we talked about vertical lines. So this is going to be a vertical solid line at 30. When we're shading vertical lines, we can talk about to the positives or towards the negatives. So in this case, because we're shading below the vertical line, we have to shade toward the negatives. I'm shading lightly just so that my only dark region is the highlighted area. And they overlap right here. So give two examples. We're just going to give one example. An example of a solution would be 35, 20. Nope, I had that backwards. 20, 35, which would be right here. That means that she can have 20 children and 35 adults. All right, next one. Erin is selling bracelets and earrings to make money for a summer vacation. The bracelets cost $2 each and the earrings cost $3 each. She needs to make at least $500. Erin knows that she wants to sell more than 50 bracelets. So we still have to determine our X's and our Y's. So it already gives it to us on our graph. X-axis is bracelets, so that means X represents bracelets. Y-axis, we have earrings, so that means Y represents earrings. All right, so this one is a little different in the fact that we're talking about money, right? We have $2, we've got $3, and we've got $500. So whenever we see something like that, we always want to relate the money with the other money, because the only reason she's gonna make $500 or more is if she sells the bracelets for $2 and the earrings for $3. So what we have to do is this now becomes our coefficient on X, and this becomes our coefficient on Y. So for every $2 for bracelets and for $3 with earrings, she wants to make more than $500. The next sentence says, Erin knows she wants to sell more than 50 bracelets. Well, bracelets is X. She wants to sell more than 50, not at least. If she were talking about at least, then we would be talking about greater than or equal to, but she wants to sell more than 50, not exactly 50. So now we've got a graph. We can graph X is greater than 50. That's a dotted line or a dashed line. And we're going to shade above. Now that's going to be a vertical line again. So that means we're going to shade towards the positives. So this one is actually not labeled. We're going to go up by tens. Oops, 50. And we're going to use the same scale on our y-axis, so 10, 20. We're just going to go up by tens. All right, so this means a vertical line, dashed line at 50. And we're going to shade towards the positives, or towards the bigger numbers, I guess. And then we've got 2x plus 3y is greater than or equal to 500. So here, we've actually got to get it in y box mx plus b form. So first thing we're going to do is subtract 2x. And we're going to divide by 3. So negative 2x, or negative 2 divided by 3 is going to give us negative 2/3 x. 500 divided by 3 is going to give us around 166.67. And this is solid, and we're shading above. Now we kind of need to go higher up because, so there's 150, 160, 170. So we're going to start around 167. So that's where our first point is. And then from that point, we're going to go down 1, 2, 3. No, down 2, sorry. 1, 2. And then we're going to go over 3. So 1, 2, 3, around there. And then 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So that's a solid line. And we need to shade above So it's going to be in that little overlapping region in the corner. So if your units or your scale on your x and y axis is bigger, so if you went up by more than 10, you're going to be able to see more of your graph. As long as you're keeping the same scale, so if I had gone up by 5 here, I would need to go up by 5 on the right, or on the y-axis as well. So give 2 examples. We're just going to give one. An example would be 90, 130. This means that she needs to sell 90 bracelets, which is more than 50, so it works, and 130 earrings. Oops. Okay, we're going to do one more together, and then I'm going to let you do pages, just page 22. Each week, you work more than, or no more than 20 hours. Some of the 20 hours is spent working at the local bookstore, and some is spent working at the pharmacy. You prefer to work at the pharmacy, and you want to work there at least 8 hours more than at the bookstore. However, your boss at the bookstore requires you to work at least 4 hours a week. So, it tells us what X is. X represents bookstore, and Y represents pharmacy. So you work no more than 20 hours. If you're working no more than 20 hours, if you're working in general, that's going to consist of working at the bookstore and working at the pharmacy. So X plus Y, no more than 20, so cannot be greater than 20 hours. So must be less than or equal to 20. So some of your 20 hours is spent working at the local bookstore and some spent working at the pharmacy. We took care of that with this inequality. You prefer working at the pharmacy, and you want to work at the pharmacy at least 8 hours. So that at least, remember, tells us that we want to work at the pharmacy more than 8 hours. However, your boss at the bookstore requires you to work at least 4 hours a week. So X has to be greater than 4. Your boss at the bookstore wants you to work more than 4 hours. So we could go ahead and graph X plus Y is less than or equal to 20. You're going to subtract X, and Y is less than or equal to negative X plus 20. So now on your graph, we have to do scale. I'm going to go up by 2. Same scale up. Your y-intercept here is 20, so you're going to start at 20, and then your slope is just down 1 over 1. So we're just going to go down 1 over 1. That is a solid line, and we shade below. So we're going to shade below. Y is greater than or equal to 8. This would be a Hoy problem, which means we need a horizontal line at 8. It's solid, and we're going to shade above or up. So horizontal goes through our y-axis. It's a solid line, and we just go through 8. And then we shade above. So horizontal lines are a little different than vertical lines in that above and below are pretty telling. X is greater than or equal to 4 tells us that we need a vertical line at x equals 4. It's solid, and we're shading above, or because it's a vertical line, we need to shade towards the positives. So we're going to shade this way. So our overlapping region is then this little triangle here. So a solution would be 6, 10. 6 would be at the bookstore. Oops. And 10 would be at the pharmacy. Which makes sense because you want to work more than 4 hours at the bookstore. So 6 is more than 4. And 10, or you want to work more than 8 hours at the pharmacy. So 10 is more than 8. All right, I'm going to let you try page number 22 by yourself. The key will be uploaded online for you to check your answers.